Hey, what's up, tribe? It's Neil.
And Diamond.
And this is the Have a Tribe
Podcast.
Podcast. This is a Christian podcast where we encourage people to build a stronger and more personal relationship with God.
And if you haven't already, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram and our Facebook page.
All right. So today we have another very special guest in line with our parenting series. But today we're talking about finances.
Yeah.
And what better way to have it than my good friend Kendall. He's a man of God. He has a lot of businesses, a lot of ventures that he's taken a part of. And we wanted to bring him on and share some information that he has found over the years that has helped him financially in his career. So without further ado, help us welcome Kendall to the podcast. All right, Kendall, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah.
So,
tell us a little bit about yourselves.
About myself, well, I'm from Georgia, down south boy, Georgia boy, they said. I just athlete growing up. Y'all know how it is, how that goes down in the South. Being athletic and then school and everything comes second. So football, basketball, track, all that. Then went to school out in California, went to school in North Dakota, came back to Georgia. All my experiences brought me to a point now. And I don't know if you guys understand how finances change between the South and then you got the West Coast. The South necessarily still has a more of a slavery mindset when it comes down to things, especially our people. Never really got the education like it is up in New York and it is on the West Coast. Things move faster. Things are slower here, so people in the North and the West come here and thrive. You know what I mean? They take off, and it's like, oh, what are we missing? Like, how are y'all coming here and doing that? What are we missing? So when I went to California, I seen financially free people, and I was like, wow, I never seen someone 18 pull up in a Benz and got these credit cards and all these different things. And I'm like, okay, they must be in crazy debt. No, they're not necessarily in debt. They've been using it the right way. And that's why their parents are able to afford the nice things for their kids. Where I'm from, you go get that car for $1,900 and you put your child in the death trap for real. For being real, car break down on the side of the road, but then they go put their kids in a brand new car. And the crazy thing is they didn't even buy and finance that car, they leased that car for the kid. So what happens is when that kid needs to get another car in 3-4 years, they don't even go into any debt. They have no negative equity to roll over to another thing, so it never messes up the kid. Neither
leased the car.
They leased it. And I'm like, how do they keep going into these new cars? But how do they keep building their credit up? Why are they not paying so much? Just 800 credit score. I'm leasing a car for 3 years. I'm leasing half the price of the car. So if it's 50 grand, I'm leasing it for 25. The 800 credit score. My payments are $400 some a piece, $400 some a month for a $60,000 car, $50,000 car, $40,000 car.
Wow.
Mindset's
different.
Yeah.
Mindset's different, and I'm never rolling over negative equity. I'm never under any kind of bad payment because I took care of my finances. It's something simple like that, but that's what I've seen all the time in California, and it comes down to real estate and just saving money and all those things too. So when I came back to Georgia, I was like, oh man, we got a big bridge to gap up. So when I started praying, man, God brought me Dream Bigger. He was like, man, you got to start teaching what you learned there to kids so they don't have to figure out the way you figured out. And I've been rolling with it since.
So explain what Dream Bigger is. You said it just real quickly. What is Dream Bigger?
So Dream Bigger was, it was a dream, came to me as a dream. I actually prayed to God. I said, I want to be able to create a generational wealth change in my family. How do I create generational wealth in my family? Then quickly, I was a person, I've always been a joyful giver. I said, matter of fact, how can I then create a generational wealth in a plethora of people's family? I literally have that paper still. Well, I wrote that down. And that dream came the next day from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. I wrote for 3 hours about what I was going to do and dream bigger. I even wrote down Operation Lunchbox on there for the people. Y'all don't necessarily know that yet, but they got the inside. And I wrote down just the connections that I would need, and he's brought me those connections in this past year. This is just 2020, June 10th of last year. And I just been following that path. My church was like, hey, you can teach the Ramsey course here with these kids. You will have everything you needed at your disposal. And then I meet other people, and they're like, hey, use my church, use my school. Matter of fact, we got 4 locations. Matter of fact, God is like people like you guys. Hey, man, we want to help. I'm like,
you have the,
all because of the vision. You just wrote it down. You
Right.
said you was up at like 5 in the morning writing it down, which is a good time that God likes to talk to people.
Yeah.
When you're not focused on nothing else, not the job,
Right.
Not working out, nothing. It's just you and God time. And you dedicated to write out a vision. And that was critical to now. You seeing all of those things play out. That's great, man.
It's like the Joseph story. He had a dream, and what he ended up doing.
My favorite scripture.
What he ended up doing was creating wealth for his family, even in his hard time. But you never know what God has ready for you to break for your family. So
let me shine some light on God real quick. My homegirl sent me a sermon, and I hadn't, at that time I wasn't even saved yet. She sent me a sermon. After that sermon, I started seeking God different. And then that next, I think a month later, I was saved. But within that time, I watched another sermon, and she wrote down how she had started to write down her dreams. And I kept the book. And from then, I started writing down my dreams every day until June 10th. So when I prayed, he was like, oh, he's been faithfully listening to me. And he knows now that I talked to him through his dream, because he would give me a dream, he'd tell me to go do something, I would go do it. And then he started faithfully doing it. I'm just following at this point. And when he wrote me up at 5, I sat there and I wrote. And even when we were doing all these meetings for the after school program and all these things, and we were trying to get it going, he woke me up at 5 o'clock one day, boom, and was like, go call every black-owned business and get them to come to the event. I just started calling people. And I'm like, you guys are showing up. Like, if you don't even understand how big it was, I'm just shining light on God. I physically couldn't make it happen without him just being like,
orchestrating it.
I tell people all the time, I say, I ain't did nothing.
Exactly.
Except for walk.
I'm just here being. Exactly. That's good.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So, for those of you who don't know, Kendall, we purchased our car through Kendall, and we immediately had a connection with him because we told him our story, and it was like we were walking the same path almost with his faith walk with God and writing his vision, making it plain, and seeing things come to fruition. It was the same thing we did when we moved to Georgia. So we connected, and he allowed us to take part in his organization and get back to the back to school event that he's talking about. So he has a lot of things in store, but let's get into some more important issues that I feel like a lot of parents need to hear is that, you know, when we have kids as a parent and we don't have the knowledge of good finances or how to be good stewards over our finances, we might have debt, or we wasn't educated when we were younger, but we go into parenthood and now we're actually kind of like leaving our kids kind of like behind the 8 ball on finances and we aren't educated. So what are some things you recommend parents start to do with their kids at an early age that will kind of like reduce the overall debt in our community and our society?
I got something easy. Change your mindset about how you think your kids think about money. You gotta change it. That needs to switch. They actually very much care. And they very much pay attention to how you, husband and wife, handle their finances. And they think like, oh, like you guys have one conversation and you know, they think they don't pay attention, but realize that they've been living with you for 18 years. 18 years of hearing you talking about money affects them. So if you don't talk about it positively and they don't see a change in your income and how you live your life and how you invest in your finances and how, you know what I mean, invest into each other, they're gonna be clueless.
They're just watching us, basically.
Clueless. I have no idea how they paid mortgages when I grew up, light bills, how they split it together. I have no idea how they financed a car. No one said, sit down with us, we're about to go finance a car. No one told me what the difference between leasing is. No one told me the difference between how did you get this house?
You were just sitting in the lobby waiting.
I was in summer school and they was like, we moving. How did y'all move up here? How y'all get this house? Like, what job do you do? Why haven't I been to your job? How much do you make? What is a comfortable living? How much should I spend? If I make $50,000 a year, how should I live like I make 20? So that I can save and then for my future. That's important. That's just a mindset thing. And
so include them in
the stuff because they actually want to know. That's a simple thing.
Because my son, he will ask us certain things, or like, well, how'd you do that, Mom? Or how much you make, Mom? Like, Dad said this, that, and the third. I was like, when I grew up, a child stayed in a child's place. But I do see that it is true that we want them to understand that, because at a certain age, my father, he would want me to read certain documents or need me to do certain things for him, and I was like, this is different. I didn't know all of this came into it, but I'm already an adult now. Like, it would have been nice to understand those things as a child. And right, we moving, we are. Like, did we talk about this? This is my life too. What's going on? right. This is my life too. But that's something that we've seen, and we want to make sure that we explain. Even my daughter, she'll be like, "Mommy, I want this, that," and I said, "Well, we have to learn how to wait."
Right. Yeah.
And even with you're going to talk with us about the Dave Ramsey, he says, live like no one else, so later you can live like no one else. So that teaches discipline and patience. So, so yeah, tell us about the Dave Ramsey program that you're going to be doing in the churches, teaching our young people.
Right.
To live like no one else, so you can live like no one else, is one of the most powerful things I took out of that message. So I was like, dang, if I save like no one else now, can I really retire at 45? Or at 40?
That's what I'm trying to see.
How do I make my money make money?
Right.
So I guess when it came down to the Dave Ramsey course, I remember when they brought it to me, they were like, "You're going to teach it," and I was like, "Wow, I've heard of Dave Ramsey, but I actually hadn't went through this course." So that means I got to go through this course for the first time, and it took one chapter for me to be like, I just learned so much in chapter 1 that can set me up for the next 10, 15 to 40 years, just talking about a certain what compound interest is.
Wow.
Just talking about what actually other savings accounts is. So what we want to do, we're going to teach the kids how to save their money. Like, we give, like, my mom used to give me $10, $20 to go to school. Had like the vending machine and stuff like that. And I ain't gonna lie, I would spend $2. I may pocket $8 because I'm going to the movies.
Right.
So imagine if I did that every day, but I was not going to the movies, or I was, not
spending
that.
Right.
And the parent, along with the child, was like, how about this? I give you 20. You tell me how much of that you should spend. This is a disciplinary part at this point. Like, this is self-control. This is patience. What should I do with this $20? Like, I like Dan Ramsey because he shows us what we actually could do with the money. So, like, I'm going to take 65% of that and put it to an account, and I'm going to spend this. And so every time I give you money, they already know, like, I should always save some of it.
Yeah.
Now, when you get grown and you got bills and all that stuff, what the first thing you're going to do is take all your bills out, make sure they're covered, and also take another percentage to pay yourself first. Now I got some money to spend if I need to spend. So it's a level of things that you got to take care of so that you can really set that foundational knowledge for your kids. And that's why I like, through Dave Ramsey, he taught the basics of what saving was, what finance was, what purchasing things are, what consumerism is.
Right.
And it was a major component that I think that needs to be taught in school, but of course that's why we're here to provide that knowledge for them. So that's why I chose the Dave Ramsey course.
I know growing up, my father was big on saving or having a savings account, but there could have been a better way to put my money somewhere where it could, gain interest.
Compound interest.
Okay, so when you said compound interest, I was like, I was only taught a compound sentence. I don't know what
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
What is compound interest? So, so is there other ways that parents who have the mindset of, well, just put it in a savings account, to where they could actually get money, where their money is making money for them?
No alternative?
Well, look at compound. Look at this though. You said compound sentence. The root word was the main thing was compound.
Right.
Compound is, it was different layers to that sentence, right? Imagine putting money into an account, and they add layers to how much you put in. Compound still goes over from the sentence over to the interest. It's not that root word or whatever it is. They just changed the back part of it, the sentence and the interest part. So the reason why I put my money into this bank, because this bank turned around and invests this money for me and turns my money into money. So if I put in $2,000, I never touch it. When I get it back in 40 years, I got a couple $100,000.
Right.
Dang, what if I put $2,000 in a year?
Yeah.
That changes. What if I put $2,000 in a month?
Right.
Wow. What if I'm disciplined enough and take my portion of my check and put it in there every week?
Yeah.
What can I really have in 40 years?
Right.
And that's what I looked at what the mutual fund was. Dave Ramsey talks about it a lot. He always talked about emergency funds, all those different things. And he always like put that emergency fund, that $500 in an account, but he didn't say go put it into a Wells Fargo account where you have to pay them to use your account. Because if you put that $500 in there at the end of the month, they may have $8 taken out of it. You got $400 some dollars.
I lost money.
Where's the account that when I looked at it at the end of the month, I had $550. or I had $600 or whatever it was. So that's where you want to, the knowledgeable, the fact that you need to understand what type of account that you should be using based off what kind of purposes you're trying to have. So that's what you want to do. And the Dave Ramsey covers all of that. So I know when it comes down to high school, so I know it doesn't necessarily cover what they can do from middle school and up, because you got to make sure you got some basic math still taken care of there. But from the high school and up, you want to teach your kids it, because in the next 4 years they are adults.
Yeah.
And that 4 years flies by fast.
Yeah.
So we just need to talk about it more. That's all it is. We just need to expose them to what it is and allow them to know that it is possible to cut grass and take $40, put in an account. At the end of the year, that thing could be $150, and you didn't do anything else with it.
Right.
And that's what it is.
Right. Because one thing we're trying to teach our son now, because he has chores, is make sure you tithe your money.
Right.
You know, make sure you tithe the 10%, whatever you get. Make sure you give 10% back to God. You got 90 to work with. I heard a story of where this guy, he tithed 90 and lived off the 10. When you get to a place to live off the 10, that's crazy.
That's what I do in my church.
That's abundance.
That's a giver.
That's abundance.
When I say the first time I tithed to this church, and they called me because they said, "You're not a member of this church. Did you mean to give us money?" What's crazy is I'm now a member of the church. You know what I mean? But they called me, and I started to tithe faithfully after that.
Wow.
And the more I got, the more 10% I got. And one thing I always heard about that 10% was, it ain't your 10% to give anyway.
Right.
It's his. So, like, what do you mean? And I remember I thought about that 10%. Then I started recognizing this. I'm going to take it farther with the 10%. So we have 24 hours in our day, right? Imagine giving 10% of your day to God. That's 2 hours and 40 minutes. Just 10% of what he's giving you, can you give it back to him? And I was like, wow, so they go tithe and then an offering too.
Right.
So God is like, okay, are you really a joy forgiver? Yeah, I'm giving you 10%, but what are you doing with that abundant 90 that I'm giving you? Can I give another 20% to somebody else? Is there really people in need? So as you give and as you serve, you gonna get something in return. I'm just being honest with you. You don't have to look for anything in return. You have to look for anything in return. It comes back.
It does.
And
in a different way, but it's definitely coming back.
That's true.
The richest people in the world provide a service. They don't look for the money. They provide a service. Look at Amazon. They provide a service to everyone in the world, and they get a great return on
people.
Right.
What you guys are doing is providing a service, and then people are gonna be like, "I want to pay you for your service." You guys doing an amazing job.
Thank you, Jesus.
You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Yeah, we just gotta throw that on out there. You know what I mean? Blessings of generational wealth in a very simple. You know what I mean?
I also heard about tithing. So we're talking about tithing is that a lot of times, I think John Gray had mentioned, you're supposed to tithe the first fruit. So whenever you get your check, whatever money you get, the first thing you do is you tithe to the church first, or you give 10% first, because when you get your money, whatever you do with it first is the God you serve. That's what he said. So if you get your money and you go and you buy lottery tickets, or you go get clothes, that is your God, because the first fruit goes to who you serve. And when I looked at it like that, I said, So from now on, as soon as I get paid, that's the first thing I want to do.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I know for a fact, soon as so churches on Sunday, and they take up tithes and offerings on Sunday. On Thursday, I get paid. I look at that amount and I said, I know 10% where that's going on Thursday. And what I did was, even if I don't, I said that 10%, even if I don't get that every week, I actually set a limit for myself. I can't go lower than $100 a week. That's what I got to, that's if God, I know God blesses me with that $100. And I'm like, I set a standard for myself. What if one day I don't get paid because I'm a salesman? I don't get paid, and I'm like, man, I ain't finna give God 10% because I ain't get paid this week. Like, are you really serious? You know what I mean? And I was like, I ain't never gonna be that person that be like, well, I didn't make money this week, but so I'm not gonna tithe. So I tithe that one day. I think 2 weeks I didn't get paid. Right?
You still gave
and I gave my 100, and I think I might have gave more than that if I'm not mistaken. Because what happened was at the end of the month prior, he gave me my first $5,000 check in a week. So that next 2 weeks, he was really I think he really was testing me to see what I was gonna do within that 2 weeks.
Committed to that $100.
That next week, I sold like 6-7 cars in that week, and double that too. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Faithful in your giving.
And he was like, that 100% really ain't nowhere near 10% of what I was really about to give you.
Right.
So I was like, stop it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, trust
It's
me,
the
God
message.
is, I'm not saying don't think that, okay, if I give him 100, he's going to give me 1,000. Or if I give him 1,000, he's going to give me 10 grand.
Right.
It ain't even that, because don't even think that small mindset.
Yeah.
Because if he was well, like, dang, I was really trying to give you 100,000, but you only wanted 10% of it. You just want to give me like,
Yeah.
and that something that's real for me. I wanted to say this is before it was like God's. So your basement plan for yourself is God's. Is God like your? I mean, I'm sorry. Your penthouse plan is God's basement plan for you. So as far as you can see, it's only far as you can see. We can't see as far as God can. So you're like, man, I want this $1 million house. God might be like, well, what if I'm trying to give you a whole neighborhood full of $1 million houses? Maybe you own the whole block.
Yeah.
So don't short your blessing. You gotta have this. That's what Dream Bigger is about, by the way. I just want to plug it.
Go ahead. Yeah. So thus far we talked about savings, tithing, leasing a car, being a good example, changing the mindset for our children to how they think about money, because they are going to think about it, and how they're supposed to manage it themselves. What about credit?
Right.
With our children.
So leveraging the credit, that was the first thing I was talking about. We talked about it earlier, so I'm glad we would bring it up again.
Yeah.
Just having a responsible parent, first of all. So now we're back in that mindset thing. Having a responsible parent, because it takes you to recognize yourself if you're responsible or not. I just want to say that from the beginning. Don't do it if you're not responsible. Because some of you guys are going to do it and you're going to mess your kids' credit up, which happens to a lot of people. Please not do that. If you are responsible, then you will put your kids' name on a credit card, well, on the account that you know you're going to always pay off, like a phone bill, which is always an automatic payment. Insurance, which rolls over every 6 months. You have an automatic payment insurance on your car. You know what I mean? Those things where like you make sure those bills are automatic, so you don't have to worry about it being on time.
Right.
Wow, imagine having your kid on there for you're 2 years old and then they're 18. They got 16 years of credit history.
So walk us through that process. If I'm a parent and I know I have this phone bill, I got an iPhone, I got to pay my $140 every month. How do I get my kid on that?
Well,
Walk us through that.
Well, it's not on the phone bill. You pay him on. You get the credit card. You add him as an authorized user.
Okay.
For the credit card, you just pay your bill with the credit card. Okay. And then you just take your debit card, and just for the parents too, you take your debit card and automatically pay your credit card off.
Right.
So that you just not really worried about it. Like I have money that goes into my credit card from my debit card to automatically pay that as my credit card automatically pays this bill. That way you get a revolving door, So
you're saying just use a minimum card or a minimum payment or not even a payment, but a minimum bill amount that you know you want to pay on auto pay and get a credit card in your kid's name or in your name?
It's in your name. They're authorized users.
So I get a credit card.
Because you can't just get in your kid. The kid has to be 18.
Okay. So let's say I go get a credit card and I add them on my credit card as a user, and I use this credit card to pay my cell phone bill, and then I take my money that I was going to pay for the bill for the credit card
to pay the credit card off.
So you're building their credit up.
And then it just shows history that card is being paid every month.
And that goes to their
Which is what you were going to do anyway.
Right. Okay.
Like, I was going to do this anyway. Why not help somebody?
Why not help a brother?
Yeah.
And then they get the benefits of showing history of on-time payment.
On-time payments as their credit
for a long, I guess, until they get older.
Yeah.
Have you heard of a good time to start, like maybe when they get into middle school or it's high school too late? Have you ever heard of a good time?
It's based on the parents and what kind of economic situation that you're really in, because you don't want to. If you like, I be late on my payments on this joint, like I don't need to worry about. I shouldn't be doing that right now.
Right.
But if it's like, we all got phone bills and I'm secure with that one, let's just do the phone bill with credit card. But let me break this down. The discipline is make sure that you use that credit card for that though. Don't turn around and use that credit card to be going shopping and doing all that and not paying your bill somewhere else. You need to use that credit card. This credit card is literally for these two bills. And I don't use this credit card for nothing else because my child name is attached to this credit card. And if I mess up, I mess them up. And that's what you don't want to do.
Let's go back a little bit to the beginning of the show where you were talking about leasing a car versus just owning the car. Because I'm from a family that, we believe in ownership. Yeah. We want to own our things because we believe in, having it for a long time.
Mm-hmm. But your mom has leased several cars.
She has.
So
she
was a little different.
She leased cars, but now she owns her vehicles as well.
Right.
So she's an owner still. Mm-hmm. Touch a little bit more on, if I have the option, the credit or the cash to purchase a car, why would it be in my interest to lease instead of purchasing? What's the benefit of that?
So the benefit of leasing a car, say I got a Cadillac hat on right now. So a sedan wise, which you all know is a 4-door car. We're not gonna say it's an SUV or a truck or whatnot.
Right.
Driving off the lot, that car drops off a lot of value. Because that car is literally just for those 4 passengers to drive in. It does not hold a lot of groceries. It does not hold like family trips. Can't have a whole lot of stuff in that car. You can barely run a business out of it. It's not a truck.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's something that drops value very quick.
Okay.
So as soon as you buy that car, you go get 40 grand. Then you got tag, title, registration, taxes, all these different things on there. Financing $48,000 for this car, and you drive off, and that car is now worth $36. You can't trade that car in the next day for the same price you bought it at.
Yeah.
So you lost something.
You lost money.
But what happens is when you lease, you gonna lose that because you didn't have any negative equity when at the end of that wasn't there. Right. Okay. You don't lose that. That's not that depreciation that's going on in that car. That's after 2.5 years, I give you that car back. I'm not taking no negative equity when I need to go buy another car. But if you want to trade that car in and you're leasing it, you have to take that negative equity over to it.
Gotcha. So
you know what I mean?
So you're saying as far as the value, it's better to lease because the value when owning goes down quicker, right? Now let's talk about back to credit. If I have a car and I get a car on my credit and I own the car versus me having a car on my credit and I lease the car, how does it differ on my credit?
Do you own the car?
Let's say I bought.
Because if you're financing, you don't own the car.
Right.
That's the thing. Yes, that's the thing that people's missing.
So leasing a car is not going to be on your credit.
Lease is on your credit, but you also leasing half the price.
Oh, okay.
The car is $40,000, and I lease it for $20,000, and in 2.5 and for 3 years, and they have a pull ahead program. So in 2 years and 8 months, the last 4 months, they'll pull ahead and pay the rest of it. You can get out of that car skate free, not on anybody with your credit super high. Financing wise, you're doing 6 to 7 years financing, and that whole 7 years until you pay that car off, that is not your car because you do not have the title to that car. So while you're thinking that you own something, you don't own that car.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I did not know that. I did not know that when your credit, I know it's going to show with a new car the full amount or the full payment. It shows your payments that you make. But when you lease, your payment is half of that.
It shows half of it.
Wow, I didn't know that. So that will kind of like lower your debt to income if you wanted to do something else.
That's why people lease.
Yeah.
That debt to income is never super high because they go get $100,000 car. They only lease 50 grand.
Yeah.
They didn't go finance a $100,000. Now, if I go finance that $100,000, look how hard is it to go buy a house?
Yeah.
Even though if I could finance $100 grand, I probably already bought a house before. I'm just saying. Yeah. Just based off of that, I got $100 grand on top of that.
Right.
That on the top of that debt, man, I gotta be making a lot more money because that debt to income ratio, I need to be making $400,000 to $500,000 a year. If I got a $100,000 car on there, you know what I mean, with a mortgage and with all these different other credit card payments. So yeah, leasing my $40,000 car, I leased it for it's $38,000. Okay. I leased it for $19,000. So I need to get a personal loan to buy a truck. And we were talking about like, cool.
Yeah, because
40 grand, it might have been a little different. Like, oh, you're already doing something for 40, 50 grand. That's close to what you're trying to get from us.
Yeah.
It's a little different. So that's when it comes down to leasing over financing. Plus, it just gives you more options to get out of that car in 3 years. Every 3 years, like models and stuff change, and cars might want something different. And you like, shoot, I can take that one right there. But when you finance, you like, I owe $30,000 on this car. Yeah. They only gave me $14,000 for it. Yeah. I got to roll over $6 grand into this next payment. Now this $50,000 car is called $56,000. Right. Jesus.
So let's stay there. Let's talk about trading. Because I know if I own a car, even if you say you lose value when you come off the lot, right? But let's say a year, 2 years goes by, I own the car, I want to trade it in and get something new. If I lease a car,
you own it, or you was financed?
No, I'm saying I own a car and I got a line of credit to the bank and I'm paying the bank back. I purchased the car. It's not a lease, it's a purchase.
It's a purchase.
And then I go to trade the car in and I wanted another car. The value of the car that I'm trading in does come off the value of the car I'm purchasing, right?
Yes.
So it does have some
if
sort
that
of...
car is completely paid off.
Oh, if my current car is paid for,
if
then
you physically have the title, when somebody walks in there and they trade the car in and they got that folded up title where they sign on the back says sellers, they print it and they sign say sellers on there. If we give you 20 grand for that car, that full 20 grand goes towards that car you were trading in.
Right.
But if you owe 26 and we give you 20, you don't have the title. You owe 6 to that bank. We have to then pay that car off ourselves. And then we have to roll that 6 grand over to the new deal because somebody got to pay that 6 grand.
I got you.
So you never, in that whole process, you went from not owning this car to not owning this one. So you never had ownership in any one of those deals. So if you're not going to have ownership and always trade in and out of your cars, then what are the points of you financing if
you keep carrying the balance?
You keep carrying the balance. Then if you lease, you can, after that 2.5 years, you paid up your whole leasing thing, you can go buy whatever kind of car you want.
With no balance.
With no balance at the end.
That's a gem right there.
Yeah.
This real talk, because I know you guys just financed a car recently. You guys financed a car for family.
Right.
Yeah.
It's different when you finance a car for family because it has a different purpose behind it.
Right.
And you guys also, you're going to be in a position where you can pay your car for early. That's what you're working towards. So you're not, when people say, hey, we're doing 6 years, I did 6 years because I want a low payment at the moment.
Yeah.
But I'm working my butt off to make sure I can pay this car for 2 years.
Right.
So now, throughout that whole time, I have complete ownership of my car. If something happens, I can sell my car to whoever I want to.
Yeah.
But if you finance it, you can't do that because you got to make sure that person's buying it for that full amount that you owe. And that's where the problem lies when you finance. If you don't know how to handle your finances
But leasing, there's certain stipulations on the vehicle too, right? That you have with leasing it versus
mileage.
Okay.
Mileage wise, so it's 36 months or 39 months over a certain amount of mileage. Way with you guys having kids, having to go here. Leasing would be beneficial for you guys.
Right. So that's important.
There's definitely something to share for sure. But that's something that when you sit down with someone in front of you, and they should break that down to you at the car dealership.
Hopefully,
you know what I mean.
Person.
Get the right person. They educate you.
Yeah.
Same thing with a financial advisor. For parents that are gonna be watching this, if you're gonna have a financial advisor, you need someone who's a teacher first. And you gotta recognize as a parent, you have to be a teacher also too, because you're actually teaching them about life.
Right.
So don't just parent, but also teach. And once we recognize and we put both of those together, man, that kid's gonna grow up with a strong foundation.
Right.
And it's gonna be a beautiful thing to see someone take that next step and dang man, they helped me build on top of what I was building.
Right.
Because they said a wise man leaves an inheritance, but at the
for
same
his
time,
children.
For his children. But you know the reason why you say children, right? Because as you build an inheritance, you got to teach your kid how to make sure they build an inheritance so they can teach theirs. So that's a generational knowledge that's passed down, not actual wealth.
Right.
You pass down the knowledge of gaining the wealth instead of just gaining the wealth and not passing down the knowledge. You don't do that, then never watch it'd be gone.
So one other thing I want to touch on.
I mean,
one other thing I want
talks about Abraham, because God said, "I will make you father of many nations." So it's not just for you and your family that right now that I can see. What about the ones that are coming that you don't even know about?
Right. One thing I do want to touch on before we go is the importance of life insurance. I know that in our community, it's not really talked about as much, and in other communities, it's a staple. Like they set up life insurance at the hospital with the kid right then and there because they feel like that kid needs to be insured. The life of that kid should be insured in case something happens. So, and that's also another driver for generational wealth too, because if something happens, it's an influx of money that can come into a family that can then change people's lives. So touch a little bit on life insurance and the importance of that when you're educating your kids on finances.
Man, life insurance is interesting because I'm still learning on life insurance. I wouldn't be the one to get on this camera and say I know everything about it.
Okay, that's honest.
Literally have a meeting at 4:00 with someone who's going to teach me some different ramifications of how life insurance works.
Okay.
So I would love to get on that segment. I think that should be a whole other segment because that could change somebody's whole generational tree.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to be investing into life insurance, you need to know that there's a return on your investment because it doesn't make sense for you not to have a return.
Right.
Just like you're not paying car insurance. Car insurance, you don't have, like you pay that car insurance is going every month.
Right.
You don't get an interest on it. It's not sitting in an account where you can go grab it.
Yeah.
But there's a certain life insurance where you put the money in there and you're like, what's happening to that? What's happening to that money in that account? Because if it goes to an account, you know that they're out there moving that money around so they can make money. But where's my percentage at? Where's my compound interest at?
The cash value.
That cash value. So you gotta pay that life insurance. You're gonna want it. You're gonna need it, and that's something that you need to have. So you need to know what my return is, and can I use that money to invest at any time, and what type of insurance do I need to have to get that? And I'm still learning how that works and how I should use it myself as a single person, also as a married person, as people that are married that has kids. You need to know exactly where you need to do this at. But as I learn more about it, I'll talk more about it. I'm not gonna go too far. You may actually know more than me, brother.
I know that it's important because so many times we see people in our community that can't afford to bury people. And because of that, they have to draw on so many others that may not even have the money to help, but want to help. And it's a shame. But with life insurance, that might only be a little bit of money at their age when they're young, like pennies on a dollar. That way, as they continue to grow, like you said, this whole life, it grows cash value. They can borrow, your kids can borrow against the money if they needed something, or have it in case something does happen to them where you can bury them properly. And then depending on the amount, it can change the trajectory of your family.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And it won't be so stressful on the people that you leave behind.
It's important that we get parents educated that they have to start that at an early age, because the older you get, the more expensive life insurance costs. And if you're an infant, a toddler, a baby, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars policies that you can have on somebody at that age, and that won't change. That premium payment won't change, and they can continue when they get of age to just be transferred in their name and have it for their family, because their family. If I have a son and I start a policy for my son, and when he turns 18, 25, 30, and I continue that policy and he takes it over, he can then assign that policy to his kids. So when he passes, his kids now has a lump sum of money when he dies.
They're not starting at zero. That's the thing about passing down heritage. Each generation doesn't have to start from the beginning.
Exactly.
And you have to teach them throughout this whole time. This is the importance of making sure you educate your kids so you don't have to start from the beginning. Imagine growing up, man, and really being in that household where you was like, we really got $100-some thousand. Y'all want to go to college? Like if you really want to go to college, I can pay for your 4 years, but you need to be. I need to be set in stone. I can pay for your rent. All you need to do is go to school.
Right.
And you need to educate yourself. I don't need you to worry about anything else.
Right.
Me personally, it wasn't like that for me.
It is.
But the thing is that's very much possible. And saving, learn how to save for your kid and policies and stuff like that, life insurance, all these different things. It's something simple, but we just don't necessarily know.
Not educated.
Or just not educated. And what you don't know, you don't know. And what you do know, man, you can definitely leverage it and start something great for your family. It's very powerful.
So before we get out of here, just share with them how can they get in contact with you? What are some upcoming events or things that you're doing so that they can get in contact with you?
So definitely for my Henry County people, we have a after school program. We're starting on September 15th, if I'm not mistaken. I want to make sure that date is right. We're actually having a meeting about today to get everything set in stone. But September 15th, from 9th grade to 12th grade, we're going to be doing financial literacy, basketball. My man Neil is going to be helping out with that. And we're also going to be feeding people too. Operation Lunchbox is going to be giving out food and make sure they feed all the kids before the parents come pick them up. So that'll be something huge that we're starting very soon. And kids got to eat, learn, play. It's huge. So just go on the journey with us on that one. Just watch how that's gonna work out, and I hope that we get some people to come out, and we'll be able to help the parents out too. Let's make sure that the parents recognize that this is a place where when you get out of work, you can drop your kid off, and they're gonna get this great education. So when you guys come home, y'all have a real foundational educational conversation, and you're gonna be like, dang, my kids are really learning some stuff at this school.
Yeah, they teaching you stuff.
They teaching you stuff.
Me?
Dang, you teaching me stuff. So now when we communicate at home, it pulls them away from the technology that's in front of their face 24/7. Now you really having full conversations with your family, and that brings a lot more love to the household.
Right.
And I just want to make sure that don't think that communication between the younger, the kids, also with that technology, which also trying to bring that back. That's an underlying thing that we're doing too, which is a beautiful thing. So definitely come check us out.
Right. So just real quickly, we got to change our mindset first. We got to change because our children are watching, they're looking at what we're doing. So we got to make sure that we're teaching them the right ways, teaching them how to tithe. Whatever you get, give it back to God. As Christians and as knowing that this life was given to us, we have to give back to Him. Save. You want to put it in an account, you know, if it's better than, credit unions versus Bank of America or Wells Fargo, those other kind of banks. Brick and mortar banks. So, and then we have credit. Teach them about credit, the way that you use your credit cards, the way that I have this money here that's given to me, but I'm paying it back so that I can build credit. And so that when you get older, you can have credit too, but using it the right way. Because they said you need that, but you want to have good debt. So teaching our children all those things. Teach them now so they can live like no one else as a young age, so later they can live like no one else.
Add them on your credit card and pay a small bill.
Authorized user, on your credit cards, and life insurance policy.
I also want to say we did shout out the after school program, but I did not shout out the location. It'll be at First Assembly of God in McDonough, right off the square. Right now, we're trying to see if it's going to start at 4:30. It's going to start at 7. We're trying to make sure those kids that are getting off the school bus can also make it. We don't want to miss anybody that actually wants to come to this program. So maybe we'll have separate times. We don't know at the moment. But hopefully we get to a position where we can accommodate all the needs of the community and make sure we reach everybody. But that'll be starting September the 15th. And we will be posting things on Kids Helping Communities. Dream Bigger Community Center that you can go onto the on Instagram, or you can go on Facebook and check those things out. You can go look in God's Solicitor. They're going to be out here posting things too on their Instagram. So all of that.
Life Church.
Until Leaders Change to Life Church. So doing new, great, big things. So as always, before we leave, we're going to leave you all with the blessings prayer. Be blessed. May the Lord keep you. May His face shine upon you. May He give you His favor, and may He give you His peace. Until we meet next time, y'all, be blessed.
All right.